The stock market would drop and the dollar would explode under a scenario I will cover today. It has already started to happen, just the first few steps. And if what we see continues, then it's going to be a very different 2023 than what we've seen so far. In today's video, we're going to cover where the money is going. Where are all these billions and trillions of dollars flowing into in the last few weeks? I will cover that here. I'm going to show you what you can do about all of this. So much more information. Let's begin. First things first, let's talk about the US dollar. This is the reserve currency of the world. You know it, of course, as the one currency that can be used basically anywhere for anything. However, it's always in flux. It's always fluctuating, and a lot of currencies are going to make moves based on what happens with the US dollar. In fact, a lot of people around the world base their decisions not even on their own currency, but on what happens with the US dollar. So there is a lot at stake globally. I wanted to show you the markets, and you will see this is a weekly chart. So each bar represents a week, and we are at the time of this recording just before the final day in the week. If the S&P 500 comes down just a few more points, then we find ourselves in what's called bearish control. And all you need to know about that is essentially that we start a new trend. The daily trend is in bearish control. The weekly trend could then move into bearish control, and that could start a cascade. We will see what happens. I'll give you updates on that. I'll be covering it with the mentorship group on the Friday session, so stay tuned for that. Dollar set for the longest rally in years, with US defying global gloom. You could see it for the 8th straight week. The US dollar has strengthened, and what they say in this article is pretty simple. You've got a whole bunch of different currencies and economies out there. Who do you have? You got those in Europe. You've got Japan. You've got China. And look at the competition, if you will. None of them are doing well. They are all experiencing weakness today. Do you want to put your money in Europe right now? Not really. Do you want to do so with Japan or even China? Not really. Not until they've, really moved on into a growth cycle. And that's why the US is able to benefit, because their economy has been somewhat resilient compared to the others. So it's like, okay, I guess I'll put my money here, and more money has been flowing in. Couple notes here. The dollar is looking extremely strong. As I said, it's 9 weeks, and we haven't, 8 weeks, and we haven't seen that for many, many years, in fact. If more money continues to flee elsewhere, that increases the strength of the US dollar, just as a matter of relativity. More money is going into money market funds. I'll show you the charts in the second half of this video. And other countries' weakness ultimately is good for the US. But this works in the opposite direction, because if the US dollar is too strong, then you have a country like, for instance, China. They're buying soybeans from the United States, but now their currency is weaker. Maybe they decide to say, you know what? I'm not going to buy from the US. I'll buy from Argentina. I'll buy from Brazil, because their currencies are weaker. And so it gives us an opportunity to strike a new deal. And that's exactly what's been happening. At the same time, I do believe that China may be intentionally weakening their currency, allowing it to weaken now, because they want to be more attractive for exports. A lot of countries do that. Switzerland said when their currency started strengthening many years ago, they said, all right, we're going to peg to the euro at 120. Well, look at what happens. You actually weaken the currency for your own people, and that is not necessarily a good thing. I understand why they're doing it. Here's the chart if you're interested, and we are right around this resistance point. And so we will see where this goes in the near future. Remember, this is just relative. This isn't you buying stuff at the store. This is not how it works. But this is just relative to other currencies, all right? China's banning of the iPhone use for government officials at work. This was expanded to go on to others as well. So it looks like they're trying to go, like anybody related to the government or some sort of alliance with the government, nobody's allowed to use iPhone. That's a lot of people, just to be clear. I don't see them completely banning it in the country at all. That would really hurt China as well, but they can do so by banning it on the phones of the government workers, forcing them to use maybe Chinese-made phones or what have you. And this is important as well because this hit Apple. So Apple starts falling, it takes the whole, basically the whole stock market with it, because these behemoths, as they are, you will see it on this chart, have grown to levels that is, you just can't explain it. Breadth in global stocks is the narrowest since 2003. And essentially what we want to see is we want to see good breadth. And what that means is you want a lot of stocks to be doing well, a lot of stocks to see money and growth and so on. Instead, what's happening is we are seeing a concentration of wealth in the biggest names. Oh, how about Apple? Yeah, we said that. What about Nvidia? $1.2 trillion market cap. I mean, these things here start to collect too much, and then you've got a problem at the end of the day. It's not a good sign. But don't worry about it, because Goldman Sachs has now cut their recession chances for the United States to 15%. Oh dear. Okay. Thanks, Goldman Sachs. Always wonderful. Interesting that the Federal Reserve actually had this to say, okay? They were expressing caution. 8 Fed economists at the time, back in 2019, examined a scenario in which China's growth fell 4 percentage points short of projections in a year. They predicted a global flight to safety by investors would send the dollar surging about 7% and could cause both long-term treasury yields and equities to tumble. U.S. growth could come in time, dropping more than 1 percentage point. We will see, as nobody knows anyway. But the point here is essentially saying that you would see the dollar performing extremely well and the stock market taking an absolute hit. We don't know what will happen, of course, but it is an interesting prediction. Of course, that has to some degree happened right now, but nobody knows where we are at. If you look at China's Evergrande stock, I mean, the thing plummets as soon as they opened it back up. And then a few days later, they said, okay, we're going to take care of everything. The stock surges back up incredibly. Look at the dollar, how it strengthened over this period of time. Other currencies, though, they're weak. So when you balance that all out, you got to realize this is a game that's being played, and we are at the center. I want to tell you, though, what you can do about it. You got to understand for yourself. This is not all data and information. You got to stand for a second in the middle of all this as there's a million moving parts around you and start to say, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to just sit idly by? Or am I going to take action on this? We're going to cover some of those points. I want to show you, of course, the charts that are associated with all of this. Money market funds, billions and billions and billions continue to go in. Why? 5% return in many cases. So, of course, a lot of people are doing that. It's both the retail and the institutional, okay, yet again. And you could see the divergence in between the money market and regular bank deposits. This means more money is flowing into the money markets and more money is leaving the traditional banks. All right. People don't want that. Why? Because they're not getting interest on it. There's inflation and they know, I'll put it in a money market. Oh, it's so wonderful. At the same time, the banks themselves are still, this is again, record usage of the temporary facility that the Fed set up for the banks. There's no problem with the banks. Oh, that's been resolved as of March 2023. Oh, yeah. Oh, so why are they still using this facility, temporary emergency facility, at a record level? There's something freaky going on inside this system. I've been highlighting it over the last little while, and if you haven't heard all those details, well, if you can't go back right now, just simply hit that thumbs up button, because then I will be more likely to show up in your feed, and then from there, you're going to get the updates as they come out. I want to see you on the next one. Don't go anywhere, all right? Look, you're going to see this divergence that I love to cover with the money mirror method. And quite frankly, when you look at it, the stock market and the excess reserves are really, truly going hand in hand. But now there's this big divergence. This is another thing we'll cover on the mentorship group. Stay tuned for that, my friends. But all I have to say is that these have started to converge. So either the reserves have to climb considerably, or we will see the stock market decline. One of the other, or a little bit of both, has to occur. It has to happen. That's just the way that history has shown. All since 2009, these will converge. So what does that mean? It means the stock market could potentially decline, even stay sideways. That's possible. Or the reserves have to come up. This is important stuff, okay? I know it's really complicated. I covered in several videos before, but keep that in mind. Now, we're not going to talk about Encanto today, but I wanted to tell you about what you can do. Like I said, don't just sit around. Look at a few of these things that I'm, just been thinking of today as I was writing all this up. Use this time of strength for the US dollar, if you hold US dollars, as an advantage. You can seek depressed assets. At the same time, you could possibly get something overseas. I know a lot of people have decided to look at Portugal. Well, your strong US dollar right now could be a potential opportunity for that. Prices are not necessarily at the highest they've ever been in some places either. It really all depends on what you're interested in. I know a lot of people, they say, no, I don't even have a passport, so I'm not going anywhere. All right, well, that's up to you. Watch exposure to high-risk stocks right now. I know everybody loves NVIDIA, and they think it's going to go to double, triple, quadruple where it is today. That is certainly possible. All I'm saying is watch your exposure. You can be exposed to it. You can do that. But just watch how much of your portfolio, and at the same time, trim your winnings. If you've won, you've done so well on something, pull a little bit of that back. Now's the time you take that, you pull a little back, and get ready to redeploy. That's okay. But just take those winnings. Love that. Love what you did. I congratulate you. But just be careful, okay? You don't want to lose what you've got. I want you to join me. And literally now, over 1,300 people on the Discord. Share what you are doing with the stock market. Share what you're doing with crypto. We've got all those channels in here, and I want to see that from you, okay? Lots of different people are in these groups, and you're going to come in, and you're going to see all the differences, but they're all organized into these different channels, and you can actually share information. Hey, what stocks are you looking at? Hey, what about real estate? Have you heard about this? All inside the Discord, totally free, link in the description. And now, the comment of the day. I want to thank Carrie Cunningham. He said this: nothing says strong economy like, quote, commercial real estate meltdown. That was a quote. That was a quote. I had to pin that one to the top. Thank you very much for your comments there. I love the comments. Try to highlight one every single day. The world is wacky. Things are wild. But as long as you are here, understand that you're not alone. You're part of a group, a niche group of people who actually want to know the truth, who actually want to know what's going on, and never give up hope. If you want to hear from me directly, you want me to actually tell you that you don't want to give up hope and you want to thrive and prosper, let me know. You can always message me on Discord, and if you need a little pep talk, I'm here for you. But there's a whole bunch of people out there that are just like you, so don't think you're alone in this. All right, I'll see you on the next one. Take care.